At the center of Hyperlight Drifter's brutal, ravaged, and gorgeous world is something rarely found in such a grossly commercialized and franchise-obsessed industry. It's evident in every painterly landscape, every graceful animation, every atmospheric note of its adaptive soundtrack, and every painstaking detail that brings this morose but fascinating story to life. It's an experience that evokes the very best of what made the SNES so special, embracing both its charm and its limitations in the pursuit of something intangible. Heart. In Hyper Light Drifter, as it is with all of us, the heart is the life force that drives every vital function, the fulcrum at which all of its themes and symbolism are deftly joined with the design and utility that transform a game into an experience that can leave a profound impact. In this case, it was creator and lead designer Alex Preston's heart which served as inspiration. Having been born with congenital heart disease and suffering with life-threatening health conditions since infancy, many of which served as roadblocks to sharing his own creative works, he decided in 2013 it was time to visualize a world he had been dreaming about for years. Driven by the very real awareness that he could die at any moment, his ambition became insatiable, and teaming up with programmer Bo Blythe and musician Disasterpiece, began working on a game that set out to combine the very best elements of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past with Diablo. Developing the project under the aptly named studio Heart Machine, they launched a Kickstarter campaign in September 2013 that exceeded their wildest expectations, enabling them to expand the project and hire on additional developers. The results speak for themselves. When I said there was something intangible about Hyper Light Drifter, what I meant is it's difficult to explain what makes it resonate so fiercely with me. Passion is the only word I can come up with. That drive to make something truly exceptional, something to be proud of when sharing it with the world, and how that drive seeps into every crevice and every detail, bringing pixelated sprites to life with personalities all their own. Hyper Light Drifter exudes that kind of attention to detail, recapturing the charm and magic that I've only ever seen in the forced minimalism brought on by 2D and early 3D game machines where limitations abounded. In this case, that sense of style and charm carries over into the storytelling, where Preston opted for an even greater minimalist approach. We take on the role of the Drifter, a skilled fighter with a debilitating disease that acts as an allegory for the creator himself, his method of making his art deeply personal. There's not even a single word of written dialogue in the entire game, and in its place, we're treated to a unique visual and exploratory form of storytelling. When approaching NPCs, you'll see a series of 3 images that tell their story. One of my favorite examples comes from this fellow, drinking in a corner of town all alone. Having one impression of this character, or possibly being indifferent, you might approach him only to find out how he came to the city seeking prosperity, but was promptly robbed, beaten, and left for dead. As you look at him there sitting alone and drinking bottle after bottle, your impression of him changes altogether. There's something so simple and intuitive, but also visceral and effective about the way this is delivered that could not have been communicated in quite the same way with dialogue. It's a game that tells its story through exploration and rewards players who pay close attention to the details. A perfect approach for a medium which touts its uniqueness through interactivity, but sometimes relies a little too much on heavy exposition. In this case, I'm reminded in some ways of Pixar's short films, where the story is told through body language, emotional expression, subtle suggestion, and especially through music. I did a video a few weeks back about how music can be even more effective at communicating emotion than language, which I'll leave a link to in the description if you're interested. But I have to say it's so true here as well. Hyper Light Drifter's music immediately gave me Blade Runner vibes in all the best ways. I've always been a huge fan of adaptive soundtracks, where the music moves subtly along with the player depending on what you're doing or looking at. And here it creates a number of enduring moments such as this. I've spoken about this somewhat in the past, but music that speaks to my heart generally contains a certain duality to it, something that communicates more than one emotion and perhaps even generates a certain level of internal conflict. Richard Vreeland, better known as Disasterpiece, captures this duality perfectly as his music weaves between being grim and forlorn to serene and hopeful, a contrast that emulates the cycle of emotions we experience throughout our lives, and is carried over, I think, very deliberately into the core of the game's pacing and mechanics. As a creator myself, I often swing between moments of intense frustration, where I feel like I'm drowning in my own ineptitude, to moments of supreme inspiration, where my work flows effortlessly and my vision at last can thrive. The enemies here are easy enough to read, but are ruthless and ambush you in large numbers. The bosses and secret challenges can be quite imposing and demand your full attention. More than once, I swore at my TV screen as I lamented my inability to react quickly enough or read the situation more efficiently. But after I finally overcame each challenge, I was met with a moment, whether it was a breathtaking vista, a new exciting ability, or a story beat which awed and inspired me, making every second of that frustration all the more meaningful and worth it. This personal allegory I found in my playthrough spoke to the heart of what makes creative pursuits so rewarding. It's also just incredibly satisfying to watch the Drifter throw his sword into the ground after finishing a tough fight, due partly to exhaustion, but also as an outburst of triumph, something I found very relatable. That's not to say that this game is frustrating to play as a rule, because it really is a blast. The same excruciating level of detail is placed into every encounter, making combat both fast and smooth while requiring the player to execute strategy and develop skill. This is why, despite the fact that I cover primarily turn-based JRPGs, action RPGs are what I really enjoy playing most. While a challenging game, it's never unfair, but simply requires you to put some thought and effort into what you're doing, making it all the more satisfying as you learn and get better. It's also teeming with secrets, which promotes sharp observation and careful exploration. Using gear bits you find in the world, you can upgrade yourself and gain new abilities, which opens a ton of options for how to approach combat, giving the player an arsenal to play with and build their own style. The overarching experience, though, is one that simply bleeds passion. Like the classic games it was inspired by, it works within certain limitations to push itself into inventive ground. From the art, to the impactful visual storytelling, to the carefully constructed level design and game balance, Hyper Light Drifter is what I consider to be a true work of art. Not just a great imitation of cinema, but an example of how games can transcend other audiovisual mediums and create experiences that cannot be had anywhere else. It's a modern example of what makes games so special, radiating the devotion and raw talent that only the most dedicated artists develop through their willingness to suffer and sacrifice and work until they have nothing left to give. Through the course of this game, the heart of Alex Preston is laid bare, holding nothing back and allowing the player to explore, learn from, and be inspired by his life experience wrapped up in such a skillfully crafted abstraction. None of us really knows how much longer we have. Like the Drifter, we push through life's obstacles, failing and falling and picking ourselves up and wondering if we'll ever find what we're looking for in time. In following Alex Preston's example and not allowing those obstacles to deter us, we can work toward our personal pursuits now, learning from our mistakes and bringing our dreams into reality. Hyper Light Drifter releases this Thursday on the Nintendo Switch and is already available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. If you appreciate good work that truly comes from the heart, I don't think you'll be disappointed in picking this one up. Also, let me know what you think of Hyper Light Drifter in the comments. For me, it's without question a top 10 game.